Ah, silly YouTuber. Not a bad video, but Super Mario 3D Land was pretty high for such a lackluster game. It is almost like people can have different opinions, and that's just okay. Somehow a Kirby game was placed as a lower entry? I wouldn't mind talking about that game, but it is a 3DS game. Luckily, Kirby hasn't had a bad game ever, according to the fans. So where am I at on this? I reviewed Kirby's Dreamland and reviewed the remake of Kirby's Adventure. Looks like I'm back on the Game Boy with... oh, Kirby's Dreamland 2. That brings up a few questions. So, let's say there isn't a bad Kirby game. Does that mean there are only good games? No, that's not the same. I suppose it could mean that there are some mediocre games. You will find out that I have a personal issue with this game. I don't think it's overall bad, but I wouldn't call it a good game either. I'm not even sure who this game was made for. It's kind of a weird mesh of ideas. Younger early gamers won't be able to find the true final boss without help. Is it just too darn easy for experienced gamers? Maybe it's made for the Kirby fans. I could see that, I guess. It does try to expand the gameplay of Adventure. As stated before, there is a true final boss. So let's get right into it. Let's take on Dark Matter! So the plot of Kirby's Dreamland 2 is that King Dedede has stolen all these rainbow bridges and the rainbow drops, creating them. It is literally up to Kirby to free each island by wiping out King Dedede's minions and saving the day. It isn't too bad doing this. However, if Kirby goes above and beyond with this task and finds the rainbow drops, he'll also figure out that King Dedede is being possessed. It probably isn't hard to pick out since King Dedede looks half asleep during the fight with him after all. After freeing the king, Kirby ends up facing off against the true villain, Dark Matter, a mysterious swordsman who ends up being just an eyeball of darkness. Kirby destroys the beast and flies home. It is a cute story and super simple, but that's pretty much the standard for Game Boy games that weren't RPGs. It is perfectly fine writing with plenty of details hidden in the worlds you explore. Enough to keep you going in the end, but not enough to lose kids in their various interests. But of course, a story like that is very reliant on charm. Luckily, charm is one of the best parts of the game. Kirby games are really known for their music and cute animations, and this game isn't exactly different from that. There are cutscenes starting each new world. They show Kirby palling around with his new animal buddies. It's super cute giving these new buddies plenty of personality and making them likable incredibly quickly, despite this being their first game. The animation in this game is actually incredible for the Game Boy, by the way. I know this was 3 years away from the Game Boy Color, but we have clearly come a long way from the graphics of Mario Land. The music is typical Kirby fare and is pretty good. Nothing sticks out to me too much per se. I'm not the biggest fan of super cheerful music, but nothing sounds terrible and works for the game. Going back to the animal buddies real quick, they are the biggest change in gameplay from Adventure to Dreamland 2, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. There are fewer copy abilities this time around, but jumping from NES to Game Boy, these abilities are actually overall better in my opinion. See, Adventure had a lot of copy abilities that were nearly identical to other copy abilities. This game trims the fat on all of these. Each copy ability feels really unique. However, the abilities change depending on the animal buddy you have with Kirby. Putting up an electric wall changes to an old beam ability when Kirby's riding with Rick, for example. This makes gameplay super interesting. Each combination also feels unique as well. The animal buddies themselves change things, well, sort of. Rick can't fly, but he jumps pretty high. Koof flies better than Kirby does, but can't land really well. And Kine is a fish that is kind of shit on land, but swims really well on the rare times that it's important. The animal buddies aren't too spectacular on their own, except maybe Koo. But with the abilities, it's a totally different story. Electric Kirby is too close range for mini-bosses and enemies that, as you take a hit, you often get a hit because it's so close range. However, Kine shoots a projectile light bulb. Electric Kine, even on land, is better than regular electric Kirby. Sure, it's objectively better, but I still think many of Kirby's abilities become better or more practical in many situations mixed with the animal buddies. Again, it begs to be experimented on with each player. The only real issue is how close range some of these are, and there's a reason for that, but I don't really like the reason either. Look, I've been praising this game quite a bit up until now. The game does deserve it. Honestly, I think the gameplay is really fun. The game has a lot of fans, there's clear reasons for it. However, I have some issues, and it starts with the level design. Obviously, compared to the console Kirby games, the screen is closer in the Game Boy games. Sometimes this just can't be helped. However, the level design needs to understand this, and I feel most of these levels don't. Don't get me wrong, not every level is an issue, but most of these levels boil my max tomatoes. Seriously, I get hit by off-screen enemies all the damn time. It pisses me off to no end. Sometimes there's no time to move because Kirby isn't exactly fast in this game, so having a close range ability seems useful. But the close range abilities are super close to Kirby and impractical to face off with against something that, doesn't die in one hit like a mini-boss. I'm sure the ability could fight some mini-bosses, but some of the arenas you fight in are super small because of the close-up screen. I hate it. There's also auto-scroller levels. Yeah, they suck so bad. I defend auto-scroller levels, and I hate these ones. These are the worst ones I've ever played. See this level right here? You can pick 3 paths here. Most of them are dead ends. Let's focus on the word dead because you pick them and you die losing a life. The auto-scroller levels are levels that have a screen moving with you, no matter your input. And the screen is basically a wall. Get caught between the wall and another object and you die. Especially if that other object is a dead end or a wall. I know there were a few of these in previous games, but damn, they didn't kill me this much. Shit like this is super hard to dodge from both ends of the screen. It's super fun. Also, by the way, you lose a copy ability when you get hit. Once. So enjoy watching your favorite ability be destroyed a lot. Luckily, there's always another ability nearby, and it does take a few hits to lose the animal buddies. As long as there isn't any reason to have to hold on to a specific ability, this will be fine, right? Luckily, there isn't any reason to have a specific ability when you're trying to beat the game normally. Sure, there are a couple of times when, you can't get by a certain obstacle without a certain ability, but they usually spawn and respawn an enemy pretty close to that area, so you're not in any deep trouble. However, remember there are rainbow drops to find. Yeah. They aren't bad to find and collect in the first few stages. You'll need a guide the last few during your first time. These are nearly impossible to find normally, since you need to be very specific with your actions and copy abilities and animal buddies just to even get close to them. One level, you have to follow directions very carefully so you have the correct animal partner and the correct power-up trading off at specific points, because if you mess up in any way, shape, or form, you have to redo it. This is frustrating. Once you know what you are doing, it isn't impossible by any means, but you have to be so specific in-game where the freedom to pick combinations, it's annoying. Seriously, the whole appeal of this game is the freedom to pick combinations with animal buddies as well as abilities. So to railroad that into having very specific directions is really bad. Oh wait, a few specific levels railroad you into having a particular ability. And only with specific animal buddies? Lovely. And yes, one of these holds a rainbow shard. Oh boy. All this for a true boss fight after King DDD. Is it worth it? Kind of, since the boss fights aren't particularly great. Kracko and Wispy are back with some neat upgrades, and DDD is much more difficult. But the rest are pretty forgettable, other than the Sun and Moon, which gave me crap. Dark Matter is the biggest challenge in the game. He can be annoying if you don't know how to face him, and the game doesn't advertise this super clearly, but once you know what you're doing, it is a fun challenge. It's getting to him that's painful. Yes, it tests you on not getting hit on crap you can't see, but overall, I don't think it's a super fair challenge either. Look, I think this game is just okay. Or for those of you who are number junkies, a 6 out of 10. I know there are tons of people who love this game, and I get it, but to me, this game is on the border of almost being a bad game. Still more good than bad, but it is cutting it close. I personally don't even like this game at all, due to the level design and the secret structuring, but I know a bunch of people love this game. They came out of nowhere to even defend it on my Twitter, which my Twitter's not exactly popular, but somehow I got a lot of comments on that one. And that's fine. People can like different things. This game's gameplay and charm are fantastic, and the plot works fine. There's a lot of heart in this game. Because of that, I'm glad this game has the fans that it does. I'm just a reviewer after all, and as objective as I try to be, it's still just an opinion at the end of the video. Enjoy, you guys. I'm sure if I found the level design or secrets more forgivable, I could have given a better score, and I'm sure many people do just that. Still, I've crushed Dark Matter at this point. I brought back my opinion of the journey. I'd probably recommend any other Kirby game that I've played, though. And speaking of which, the next Kirby game that I tackle will be Kirby Superstar Ultra. But I have a few reviews to do until then. In the meantime, my minions, take care.